Yo, what is going on, crypto community, and welcome back to another Cryptoverse video. Today we are checking out an interview from Quant CEO Gilbert Verdian. He's going to be talking about whether interoperability is actually possible or not. But before we get into the video, I do have to mention that nothing in this video is financial advice, so please do your own research before investing into the market. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and please turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. And without further ado, let's get into the video.
Tell us all about Quant Networks. What's it all about?
We're about re-architecting the internet. And so if you look at what's happened, there's no denying the internet is actually a foundational change in society. Like, we actually benefit from going digital. We can't operate without the internet today, and we're so dependent on it. But we've got an issue of trust, and that's what we're solving.
Okay. Now, you guys...
So what he's basically doing is eliminating the trust issue when using the internet, guys.
Focus a lot on interoperability.
Yeah.
Is interoperability actually possible?
Absolutely. If you think about humans and society, we operate in networks. We have our social network, our family networks, work, trade networks, and the internet is another network that we use to communicate and collaborate. And the problem we've got is we've lost trust in the network. And networks flourish when they interconnect. If you remember the old days, in the .com days, you had AOL, Prodigy, you had all the walled gardens of isolated proprietary networks. When we connected them up, we had the internet of today. We have Facebook and Google and Amazon, and all those things happen. So we can't be solid. We can't be closed off from each other. We need that.
So his main point here is that the internet flourishes when we are interconnected with each other, guys.
As a society, and we need that for our networks. And so that's what we've set out to solve, and we've done that. We've solved interoperability at scale. We didn't build blockchain. We didn't want to build another blockchain. We've built an operating system. And so what we've done is we're able to sit on top of existing blockchains and future blockchains and allow them to interconnect at scale to enable innovation to happen. And we've connected 10 blockchains with enterprise permissioned ones and public permissionless ones already.
Okay. And now, what are people using this interoperability with the Quant network for? What's happening?
Yeah, so if you can think about, if you're on a mobile phone network and you're on T-Mobile, right? And your colleagues are on, I don't know, AT&T. You can't talk to anyone who's on AT&T. You can only talk to your colleagues in T-Mobile. And by connecting these networks up, we're allowing people to communicate, trade, exchange value, exchange data, and it's all through interoperability. So our clients are using Overledger, which is our operating system, to interconnect and have access to new markets, but also be able to trade with partners, suppliers, and really move assets around vast blockchain networks rather than keeping them siloed and isolated.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, so basically he mentioned Overledger, which essentially allows people to trade value, communicate, even if they aren't on the same network. So yeah, that's fascinating.
what's sort of the main chains that people are, I guess, switching between?
Yeah. We're really focused on the enterprise, and we're bridging the enterprise private secure world and permission networks with the public permissionless networks. And what we're seeing, enterprise is really driven by Corda, Hyperledger Fabric, an internal version of Ethereum, Ripple, and it just depends, their own homegrown blockchains. A lot of enterprises take a fork of a blockchain and make their own version, and they strip things out or they add things to it. So Quorum is a good example as well. So on the enterprise, we call those the Enterprise 5. And so they're the main majority of the market is what they're using. And then on the public permissionless networks, we've connected Ethereum, Bitcoin, Ripple, IOTA, EOS, and then we've got a few more, Stellar, and we're connecting them up. And it's open source, so we're allowing the community to connect networks to Overledger so they can all talk to each other.
Yeah, so also that is also very interesting, guys. Gilbert made it possible for the community to connect networks to Overledger thanks to interoperability, guys.
Now, in terms of your, I guess, operating system, tell us about that. Like, what's its goal? Why'd you build it?
So Overledger really solves the problem of connecting networks and connecting people up. And the problem was really I've got a cyber background for 20 years working in government and banking, and I saw the issue that we're building things in isolation and we're building things that can't talk to each other. And in 2015, I ended up founding the ISO standard for blockchain, so TC 307, and that was really to enable mass adoption of the technology. And now we've built the operating system to bring on that mass adoption, because there's no one blockchain that's going to rule them all. There's no one monopoly that's going to be blockchain for everyone. Everyone needs choice, and you use the different types of blockchains for your user cases, your requirements, and what we're allowing people to do is combine all the different features of blockchain so you get the best of all of them, but also trying to find the right blockchain for you. And so you don't know if it's a blockchain A, B, or C. You can use Overledger, try and find the right one, and go with that, and then have the option to move between blockchains as well.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, so that is fascinating. What he's saying is that through Overledger, you can actually choose which blockchain suits you the best. So you don't need to be stuck to only one blockchain.
so with Quant, you guys did an ICO, I assume, and then you've got a token right now, the Quant token.
Yep.
Tell us, how is that used with the operating system?
Yeah, so we're quite excited. It's quite innovative the way we've done it. It really solves the enterprise use case and developer community use case. And so what we've got with our token is a way where we're enforcing security. And so the Quant token is used to validate, verify, sign every transaction that goes through Overledger. From a security perspective, you need three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Without that, security fails. And so we enhance security with the way we've architected our operating system with the token. And we're also using that as a means of value to transfer between different networks. So can you imagine a stable coin, a digital asset of some sort that can travel between Ethereum networks, Bitcoin, Hyperledger, Corda, and be able to be understood and transacted across different types of platforms? And we can do that with our technology. And so it's a really, and we've got a...
So he mentions Quant, which is essentially a stable coin that can travel through different networks. So yeah, that's what makes Quant fascinating and different.
A secret that we're working on, it's something to do with transport, and so we're using our features and the technology in Overledger to be able to transport digital assets across multiple blockchains.
Okay. So right now, what is the sort of the tokenomics of the Quant token?
Yeah, so it's really, again, back to signing the transactions and using that for validation.
That gets burnt then? Do the tokens get burnt?
But they're locked. So the way it works, like I said, we've covered enterprise and the community versions. And so the tokens are used for you to have access to the network. So you need licenses. And so when you have access, all those tokens are locked up. And then you pay transaction fees with the tokens as well. And so that's used for transactions. So it's kind of like Stellar, the way Stellar is operating, but then you're moving that digital asset with the token as well. So it's like a multi-utility token.
Right. And then when something...
Yeah, so he compares the Quant token to the transactions that happen in Stellar, which is also very fascinating that he found that similarity. And yeah, that's another reason why I believe in the Quant token, and I believe in the things he's saying.
Staked, I guess, to use the system, and then I guess is it get unstaked, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's locked away. We've got a treasury. There's two treasuries that we've got. We've got an enterprise treasury, and then we've got a open source community treasury. And the treasury locks that away, putting it out of circulation, and it handles all the transactions and what enterprise and developers need for you to operate and run on this network.
Right, makes sense. And what are you sort of seeing? What are the sort of main kind of businesses that are using Quant right now?
We're heavily enterprise focused. I mean, I can go into a couple of examples. We've got some banks, some financial services, some government use cases, and they're using Overledger to create universal applications that are cross-platform. Because enterprise don't like to be locked into one blockchain. They don't know which one is the right one. And so they're using us to have access to all the blockchains and be cross-platform regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's also very fascinating. As you can see, some enterprises use Overledger because they don't like to choose one blockchain specifically. They don't know which blockchain is the best, so they use Overledger, so they have the freedom of choice. and they don't have to have that headache, you know.
And so on the community side, we actually have over 230 registered organizations as organizations using Overledger developing right now. And so it's quite an active and vibrant community.
Okay. Now, we spoke with Jerry from IBM. He was, I guess, he's seen as one of the godfathers of blockchain as well. He talked a lot about with interoperability. Some of the challenges aren't really technology, but more business challenges. Tell us, what are the main challenges right now of getting more interoperability and more adoption there?
Yeah, so I can say us as a company, we're the standard for interoperability. So we actually shape what interoperability looks like globally at the ISO level, so at the very high end. Interoperability at the ISO level is governance interoperability, business interoperability, and technical. And then on the more technical side, we're part of Quilt in Hyperledger Foundation, and we're doing the Quilt reboot. And so what we're allowing to do is to have a choice of interoperability by having a framework. So using our technology in the front, you have a single API, a single gateway to all the different blockchains, and then you're able to pick different modules and different use cases of interoperability that you need for that particular purpose.
Yeah, so what he's basically saying is that business-wise there is no competition for him, as Overledger is on top of the interoperability scene. There's no other competitor that's even close to the level that Overledger is.
And so we're shaping that to give people choice. So there's no one form of interoperability. It's not a technical thing. An atomic swap isn't interoperability. That's one use case. What we've done is we've created universal interoperability.
Okay, and that's obviously based on your standards background in the past and creating the, I guess, are you looking to create some sort of framework now for interoperability?
Yeah, so the standards define what interoperability looks like at the very high level. The technology creates the framework. So what we've got in mind is an interoperability stack. So if you can think about, I need to do X, Y, and Z, what are the best pieces I need to put together to achieve this type of interoperability? And that's what we've built. With Overledger, you've got that option, but we're bringing that ecosystem together to give other people different types of interoperability as they need it.
Yeah, so Overledger is essentially giving you a choice through the different types of interoperability, which wasn't possible before. So he's also a pioneer in that sense as well.
Okay. Now, so let's talk about, I guess, with interoperability. What are the challenges with getting, I guess, interoperability with, say, Bitcoin, for example?
It's technical. So Bitcoin, the architecture, and we've built our own blockchain to figure out what did Bitcoin try and do. And so this is an experiment that we did. So the limitations of Bitcoin are really the heavy proof of work and the algorithm and the consensus. It doesn't have that much data to store stuff within the code, so the op bits, the opcodes. And so Bitcoin works really well in a particular use case, and we know a client that is using their enterprise blockchains to do all their stuff within an enterprise, but then they're taking a hash of all the transactions that have happened and then store that on Bitcoin. And they're doing that from a compliance perspective to show the regulator, you know what, everything that we've done end of day, it's recorded on a separate blockchain. You can see it, you can see the audit, you can see the history, and you can go back and check. And so Bitcoin, I think, is going to be around. It has a great use case. It's secure. The technology behind it, and coming from a cybersecurity background, it's robust. And so the actors trying to manipulate Bitcoin is very difficult, so it deters people trying to do things with it. And so, yeah, but you don't just use Bitcoin, you use other blockchains for different purposes. If you need to do something fast, you don't use Bitcoin, you use Hedera Hashgraph, for example. And there's another blockchain that's come out of Australia called Red Belly, out of a university there, which the government has taken on. That's got 600,000 transactions a second. That's Red Belly blockchain.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so he mentions Red Belly blockchain, and it's 600 transactions a second. That's crazy, guys. That's more transactions than a Visa. And yeah, I didn't know that, so I was shocked by that fact.
I know it's definitely an interesting Australian project.
Yes.
And so I guess with, coming back to that interoperability in terms of Bitcoin, are you saying then that Bitcoin may not be the one that people want to get interoperability from?
Bitcoin has its place. Interoperability is really around the enterprise permissioned blockchains. but then you need to then bridge the enterprise world with the public permissionless. And so you would like to bridge Hyperledger to Bitcoin to do settlement. You might bridge Corda into Bitcoin or Ethereum to do that as the same thing. So they have their place, and it's more cryptocurrency focused rather than blockchain technology focused.
Now, you talk about trying to reinvent, I guess, the internet. Tell us about what are you trying to do there?
So if you think about the internet, the original architecture of the internet is flawed. And so the original actual flaw of the internet is because you needed to know everyone on the network, and you knew everyone on the network because it was a small ARPANET network between institutions and military and government. And so if something went wrong, you knew the guy, you would give him a call, and you have a chat and say what's happened. So the problem we face is the internet grew from the 50s, and the architecture decisions that were made back then could not foresee how the internet is used today. And so the foundation of the internet's broken. And so we've actually, as a cybersecurity industry, we've been trying to patch the internet by putting layers on top of other layers of security controls and protocols and firewalls and all the technology. But it's still broken down in the foundation because the flaw is you need to know the people you're transacting with. So what we're doing from our perspective.
Yeah, so he makes an interesting point here as he says that the internet is flawed from the ground up. It's impossible to know everyone on the current internet, even if that's how it was in the past.
Perspective is re-architecting the internet. This time doesn't come often, it's every 30 years that this reset can happen. And so we're looking to re-architect the internet where you can trust people you don't know because you can trust the network again. And that's what the vision is.
Interesting stuff. I guess in terms of, Gilbert, the next steps, what should people look out for coming up?
I think there's a lot of maturity and progress in this space. We've seen, even in the last 12 months, there's been really focused use cases trying to solve things at scale. They're not looking at one particular thing, they're looking at a broader aspect. And I think it's a collaborative effort. We have to collaborate, we have to interoperate, and we have to work together to do this as a whole. We can't just have one company do it, one person write something. It has to be a joint effort. And so the way we're doing it is bringing mass adoption to blockchain by taking on enterprises with lots of users, lots of use cases, and they're putting blockchain out there. And so at the end of the day, you're going to have people using blockchain without even knowing it. And that's how it should be. And you don't need people to know, is a blockchain A, B, or C? It doesn't matter. All they want to know is, can I trust this transaction that I'm going to send to you? Can I trust this value transfer that I have to do because the network needs to tell me it's okay?
Makes sense.
And that's where we're heading.
Gilbert, we are.
Yeah, and that wraps up the better part of the interview, guys. If you want more videos like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Again, nothing in this video is financial advice, so please do your own research before investing. And it's been great talking to you guys. And see you guys in the next video.
Ask everyone one question on the show.
Yeah.
It's not financial advice, but